They say it takes a village to raise a child, so it will take our county to raise the Dufferin youth. In Ontario, 1 in 5 children under the age of 19 experience a mental, emotional, or behavioral disorder. These disorders are severe enough to seriously affect their daily functioning at home, at school, or in the community. Growing up can be like running a race, although in this case the course is different for every child. Many factors come into play in determining who we are as individuals. The biological and chemical changes, our early life experiences, and whether we've been abused or neglected, or have suffered from the death of a close relative or friend. Our self-esteem, the different ways we all think, and of course, there's the influence of our current social circumstance, how we manage at school, whether we live in poverty or financial distress, or with family addictions or mental health problems, unemployment, or other negative life events. When children and youth with disorders are not effectively helped or supported, they do not express their problems as they grow, and therefore become more vulnerable and less resilient as they approach adulthood. A pathway that can result in an increase in their own addictions, mental health struggles, violence, and involvement with the law and suicide. Early diagnosis, intervention, and support go a long way in bettering the outcomes for our youth. We know that when our young people feel felt, understood, cared about, looked after, and supported, this helps lead them to a better future. So often, with great programs and quality support in their lives, youth can become confident, hopeful, and contributing members of our community. Unfortunately, not all our at-risk youth are receiving the assistance they need. There is a lot of work to be done in order to protect our youth from addiction, homelessness, and to keep them out of the justice system and away from suicide. Our challenge is to hear what our youth are saying. Behavior is the language of children, and as responsible adults, we must respond in ways that lead to trust, collaboration, opportunities, and partnerships that move our youth forward in a direction that will allow them to reach their full potential.
John Howard Society is part of the John Howard Society of Peel, Halton, and Dufferin. So we have office locations in Brampton, Milton, and Orangeville. At the Orangeville location, we are providing community services for clients, which is counseling support. Anyone can come in off the street and talk to us about some counseling support issues they have. We'll sit down and work with them if they're in a crisis state or if they just need someone to talk to, we'll work with them. From that initial meeting with them, we will then decide if they need to be referred to any other community agencies. Networking is an important piece of our work here in Orangeville, and knowing what services are provided by what agencies is important for us to let our clients know about. That's community services. The nice thing about our community service support too is that if you come in and you don't want your name detailed, you can just come in and talk and we don't have to record your name. Some people like that anonymity and they want that confidentiality to be part of it. Community services also runs an anger management workshop. So individuals who may be referred through courts or probation, or simply because they themselves realize there's a need in that area in their life, they can come to us and we'll do some individual or group work in that area for them. Orangeville over the last 20 years has tripled its size, and with that come many more risky situations and behaviors from individuals who are in our community, and the community needs to be able to address those needs. So for someone who is struggling with addictions or mental health issues or family issues that are going on in their lives, they don't always know where to go. And if we can be a face in the community to help them and help get them to the right resources, then we feel we're doing something that's very useful in our community. So for the most part, anyone who's 16 years of age and older, and that would include seniors as well, can come to our facility to utilize the services here. It's a wonderful place for individuals who don't have computers in their home or access to fax machines to come to our agency, and that is all a free service that we provide. One of the mandates for the John Howard Society is that our community includes everyone. So if someone has a need and they don't know where to go, we want them to come through our door, to be greeted by our staff and our resource assistant Sandy, so that we can let them know that there are resources out there, so that whatever they're struggling with, there may be an answer that they don't even know exists that will help with the quality of their life and make some changes that they know will be positive for them.
Choices U Shelter provides basic housing, first of all, because we are an emergency shelter, but we do more than that. So after that, we do life skills, anger management, counseling, food bank, clothing, anything that an individual needs to gain independence. Society has let some of these ones slip through the cracks. They need support to become healthy adults. And they need to deal with their issues and whatever brought them to the shelter. They need to deal with it while they are still young. I think what makes our establishment unique is that we do basically a holistic, a whole person approach to dealing. Every person that comes through the door is an individual. They all have their own reasons for why they're here, and they're all slightly different. So you can't use a cookie-cutter approach to dealing with it. So you take them one by one and deal with their issues. And one by one, you build them up and you make them whole again. That's different. The living environment here is basically to sort of to simulate a home setting. So we're not institutional. And as anybody has seen it here, it's not institutional. We're not overly fancy, but it's teaching them communal living. And by communal living, they find a lot of comfort because they're not alone. So they live here, they learn their life skills, they learn how to interact with others in a safe environment. And they build up all the skills that they're going to need for independence. There's an expression that it takes a community to raise a child. It takes a community to heal a child as well. And this community, that's what we are. Choices is all about community and healing.
The Lighthouse provides for people for food primarily, but we look at it as, because it's sponsored by Good Friends Fellowship Church, that we see that it provides also a place where people can come and have some spiritual guidance. Not only is there a physical side to our lives, but there's a spiritual need needed in our lives. So we see that as being beneficial, because what it does is it provides that for them. It gives them a chance to look at God and what He can do in their lives, rather than maybe some may not be able to go to church or don't feel comfortable going to church, but we can provide that here for them in a more of a safe setting. Everyone needs these services, from children right up to adults, but we see that the youth is that's really a critical time from 13 to 19, really a critical time in your life, and a time when you're searching, a time when you're looking for things in your life, maybe don't understand why your life is the way it is, and so we try to give them guidance and direction, and that maybe try God, try Him as a source of strength for you in your life. Well, approximately a day we would have around 20 youth on average, and that does fluctuate depending on what's going on, and like a March break or something else would change that a little bit, but predominantly about 20 would use the services here. We've not done a lot of advertising, but a lot of people in the community are getting to know us and know what we do, and we do. We base it on love. We base it on caring for people, and trying to help people in any way that we can, in any way that they'll allow us to. So it's not like we're going on the street and finding these people. They have to come to us, and so when they do come to us, we try to provide and be there for them in any way that we can. And as I've said before, the spiritual component is really what we want to give them, that maybe a lot of the other organizations or other social agencies cannot provide, and we try to do that for them. So, and we do have other churches in the community that help us to and come alongside to help us and support us in that as well.
Trellis provides mental health supports to individuals in Dufferin County, formerly from the age of 18 and up, through until seniors. In terms of the specific services, we do individual and group counseling. We provide crisis supports. We provide some access to psychiatry for individuals requiring that level of support. We also have some secondary services to the community, which include court supports, eating disorder program, and first episode psychosis support. People in Dufferin County can benefit by the supports we provide because mental health issues are prominent in our society. Statistics suggest that 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health issue at some point in their life. And as a result, supports need to be in place to help people deal with these issues, whether they're short-term and need some supports to get through a rough patch, or if they're more long-term in nature and require longer-term supports by way of counseling, case management supports, or psychiatric supports. We try to make those services available to the residents of Dufferin County, and in such a manner that they don't have to be accessed through a hospital. In Dufferin County, we service about 2,200 people per year. In terms of the youth age bracket, depending on how you define youth, if you're saying 18 to 25, we probably serve several hundred people per year in providing any one of those types of services that I mentioned earlier. There's 2 general ways that people can access services from Trellis. Certainly if you walk into our building, that's one way, and through that route, one of 2 things is likely to happen. If you're in a crisis situation where you're really stressed out and need some immediate supports, we'll find a worker and we'll help you out. We've got a full-time crisis worker on site who's available and able to help out fairly quickly, and if we need, we can pull in other workers as well. So there's always somebody on site to provide crisis supports if needed. If things are less urgent and you want to set up an appointment, you can come in and do that. We would connect you with our central intake office where they gather a fair bit of information and help figure out a time frame that would be most appropriate based on the individual needs. So the individual can do that. They can come in, they can call in and get connected to services here. We also take referrals from other agencies in the community as well as family doctors.
Highlands Youth for Christ and the Door Youth Center provide services for youth aged 13 to 18, and it's primarily programs, weekly programs, trips, and events throughout the school year, and also during the summer. For a town the size of Orangeville, I think the biggest complaint of most of the youth is that there's nothing for them to do. And by nothing, that probably refers largely to anything free to do. So we try to make sure that all of our programs are free or very low cost so that it's accessible to as many of the youth in the town as possible. our biggest program is drop-in on Friday and Saturday nights, where we see between 35 and 75 youth on a night. And over the course of the year, we see over 500 students at our drop-in program, and all of our programs and trips included over 1,000 different students from the Orangeville area. Well, drop-in is designed for youth that don't necessarily want to join a club or a sports team, an organized sports team, but like to have a safe place to hang out with their friends and maybe play pool or ping pong or just play a board game, have some food. We usually have some healthy food provided for free, and then also a snack bar. And as well, there is supervision. We have at least 3 adults supervising all of our drop-in program so that it can be a safe, protected environment. Another unique program that we run is called The Door at Street Level, and that consists of a staff member and a volunteer who go out 2 nights a week with our street level van, and they are specifically looking for youth under the age of 25 who are on the street late at night, perhaps avoiding going home or not having a home to go to. And our staff will assist them with whatever their needs might be, develop a connection of some sort so there can be trust built, and we'll help them with whatever needs they have, which might be a ride to the local youth shelter choices, or perhaps back home, and maybe helping with some negotiations with parents, whatever we can help with. So in order to make those connections, we actually have non-perishable food items, snack foods, some toiletry items, clothing, whatever might be needed for youth out on the streets of Orangeville, no matter what time of year. We rely on a minimal amount of government support to run our programs. Most of our finances come through donations, either from individuals, corporations, churches, or small businesses in town. And all of our staff raise their own support to work here. So there's a limited drain on limited government finances. We do have partnerships with the town of Orangeville. That is a great help to us. Youth are welcome to walk in anytime. We do require that they sign in their name and emergency contact information, and but they only have to do that the first time they come in, and then we'll add them to the list and they just check off their name the next time. So try to make it as friendly as possible and remove as many barriers as possible, but we do like to know who's here.
Caledon Dufferin Victim Services is a crisis intervention service. It's a 24/7 service that provides emotional support and resources to victims of crime, tragedy, or any adverse life circumstance. We do see a whole range of different individuals with different types of needs, and we try to respond very quickly and fully to whatever they require at the time. Last year, probably just under 100 youth came to us directly, but many more would have come to us through the context of their families and would have received services through their family members accessing our services as well. Sometimes it's because they've had involvement with the police. The police have called us in at their request to provide support. Sometimes it's another community agency who's requested that we become involved, or individuals can self-refer to our agency. We have a 24/7 crisis line that's answered by live people, and so there's always somebody available at the other end of the telephone to field a call and to access our service. I think sometimes youth need the service because just because of their limited life experience, they may not know where to turn. They may not have ever needed to access that type of service, and as I said before, because family members or other people that they would normally turn to might also be affected, sometimes their normal support system isn't able to support them and they need something outside of that. Also, youth when they're first starting out on their own, if they've left the family home, sometimes they've been struggling with an issue or struggling with something for a while, and they just need someone to talk to, someone to understand what they're going through and to try to provide them with some support and some options available to them. And so youth will access this for a variety of different reasons. Somebody can access our service for one thing, but then maybe find that they need other resources or other things as well, and we can really tailor tailor things to their individual needs. And so we can point them in a variety of directions, or we can help funnel them in one direction, whatever their circumstance requires. And so I think that makes us somewhat unique.
The services that we provide for youth are first and foremost our youth violence prevention programs. We run those in schools all over Dufferin County, from grades 4 all the way up to grades 12. I think last year we saw something like 6,000 kids across Dufferin and Caledon regions in the school year. Apart from those programs, we also provide services to youth 16 and up in our residential program and here in our counseling program as well. Most of the time the services are accessed, but first of all from a call to our crisis line. Person calls in, they will talk to a crisis or intake counselor, and from there they'll be assigned to a counselor or referred to the residential program if they're looking for a safe place to live for a while. Well, a lot of the same issues that impact adults have an impact on youth, obviously. And our services here are designed to help women primarily deal with the impact of abuse, whether it's domestic violence or sexual assault. And youth, regardless of age, are traumatized by those events as much as adults are. So it's important that they are able to access services in a place like this where it is safe and confidential, and there's no fee attached, and we have professional qualified staff who are here specifically to deal with the aftermath and the impact of those types of traumas and experiences. The reason for accessing most of our services is because they have experienced abuse or violence in one of their key relationships, whether that is with a partner, a dating partner, or whether that is within their family of origin, or whether it's bullying on the playground. Our focus is really helping people develop healthy relationships, which is the whole focus of our school-based programs, helping youth develop skills and attitudes that they need to be able to form long-lasting, healthy relationships.
Crisis intervention at Headwaters Healthcare Center. which includes a detailed mental health assessment, recommendations, referrals, and brief counseling to patients who are not connected with any community resources. And I also arrange transfer to psychiatric units if it's necessary. And I also provide support, counseling, and psychoeducation to family members as well when they are at the hospital along with the patient during a crisis. I would say, like anybody else, when they are in a crisis, they also need a professional to talk so that they get the proper guidance and the direction to deal with the crisis effectively. And I also see that the early onset of mental health issues usually begins at the age of around late teens, and it's important to have a proper diagnosis for better treatment and better prognosis. I see approximately around 55 patients annually within the age of 18 to 22. Depression, drug and alcohol issues, suicidal ideation, suicidal attempt, any situational crisis where they are extremely distressed about any life events, and any major mental health issues like schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar, etc. You know, we all can have this problem, and it's okay, and it's just like having a biological illness. It's due to some physiological changes in the brain, and that fear has to be removed from the people's mind, and it should not be connected with the shame. We don't feel ashamed if we have heart disease, right? We don't feel ashamed if we have blood pressure, and we don't have any problem in admitting that I have diabetes. So why not this? And this is also like any other biological illness, which needs treatment from the early stages, and intervention and resources and family support.
Gateway Community Center will be offering a number of different services. The key component is that anybody that needs a referral to any organization within Dufferin County has a starting place. And so we will have somebody that's trained in referring people to any services. Doesn't matter what the age of the person, it can be youth right through to seniors. Some of the other services that we'll be offering will be programs, and so we'll have programs on life skills, we'll have anger management, we'll have a number of interest courses, for example cooking, budgeting, different life skill type courses included in that, and we'll also have some fun things like storytelling, guitar lessons. Hopefully some of our seniors will come as mentors, and we'll have people that will be able to teach things like knitting and crocheting and a number of other crafts too. We have a capacity in St. Mark's Church, where our center will be, to have 4 different programs running simultaneously, and each program could have up to 20 people at a time. So we have lots of capacity. Anybody in the community needs assistance at some time, or could need assistance at some time. youth in particular, probably because they don't know where to turn if they need help. And so this is a place where they can go without stigma. One of the other things for youth is that it's a really great place to volunteer, or it will be. And so they'll have all sorts of life skills from volunteering and working with people there too. It's hard to say right now, but I anticipate that there will be some financial issues that people are experiencing, housing issues that people are experiencing. Now, we can't give housing, but we can give referrals to community services that can assist. Other things would be perhaps they'll want to access counseling for a number of different issues, and we'll have Trellis Mental Health on site from time to time, and we'll also have Choices Youth Shelter counselors on site as well to assist with that.
Our organization has 3 major service areas, and they're all available for youth. So we have a 24/7 crisis line, we have a 24/7 distress line, and as part of our distress line services, we also have a 24-hour youth support line. They're important because whether it's in the middle of the night or sometime during the day, there's always a trained staff or volunteer ready to answer the calls. I think particularly for young people who are struggling with mental health or suicide or bullying or any other issues that they're encountering in their lives, it's really important to have an anonymous, confidential place to just talk through problems, get some ideas for other services or referrals that might be helpful. So I think having that available to youth is really important. Well, I think the fact that all of our services are telephone-based is somewhat unique, and the fact, as I said, that all of our services are anonymous and confidential. So I know that a lot of times youth don't necessarily want anybody to know who they are, or they might be dealing with issues that are really personal for them. So this allows them a really safe place to be able to talk about what's going on. Our organization has been operating since 1969, so we've been in the community for a long time and got lots of experience supporting people through all kinds of different situations. We have no face-to-face services, it's all based on the telephone, but part of what we do is refer people to other services that might be helpful. So if they wanted to do some one-on-one counseling, then certainly we could give them some information about that.
We provide support and a social setting for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender youth, ages 14 up to 21. And we meet on a weekly basis for 2 hours. And it's not a therapy group or a counseling group. It's a place for young people who perhaps feel a little bit marginalized or discriminated against to come together, have some fun times, and share some commonalities. We were fortunate enough that Dufferin Child and Family Services was agreeable to give us space, but also gave us a phone line and a voice message box. So people can either contact me here directly at the agency, at Dufferin Child and Family Services, or they can call our phone line. They'll get a message, and if they leave their name and number, I'll get back to them at a time that's good and convenient for them. We started the group back in March of 1999, and since then we've had 231 kids come through group. Now some years there may have been 50 kids who came through group. Other years there may have only been 10. It seems to go in a very sort of ebb and flow sort of manner. And it's a drop-in group, so kids can come. We might have a kid who comes 1 week and doesn't show up again for 6 months, and then shows up for 4 weeks in a row. Well, one of the reasons we set this up is because kids who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered face a lot of harassment in society. The statistic is that these youth hear negative slurs about their sexual orientation or gender identity 26 times a day. And they are 4 times more likely to be at risk of committing suicide than youth who are heterosexual, because of some of the discrimination they face. Unfortunately, some of them aren't supported by their families, and sometimes they will come to group without even having come out to their families, like having disclosed their sexual orientation, because of fear of what might happen to them. So it gives them a safe place to talk and meet other youth, and also get some information around how they can come out, what the coming out process is like, and perhaps help to dispel some of the myths that are out there. It's quite a different type of group, and we have had a couple of transgendered youth come through groups, so that piece certainly is there as well too. So we're totally inclusive, and we don't ask the young people to give themselves a category. If they're just questioning their orientation, that's okay. We stress that sexual orientation and gender identity, particularly during teenage years, can be fluid and sometimes can change. Some young people have come to group thinking that they're bisexual and then end up labeling themselves as gay, or then transgendered. Some people have, come saying they're lesbian and then realize they're bisexual. I try to stress that it's not important to be in a category. What's really important is feeling good about yourself and knowing that it's okay to be who you are.
Dufferin County Community Services offers 3 main programs. Ontario Works would be one of the programs. We also have our child care fee subsidy program, and we also have our housing application subsidy housing programs. Under the Ontario Works, what normally happens there is a youth has to be over the age of 16, and what they would be applying for is monthly ongoing assistance and employment-related assistance, specifically around pre-employment programming or remaining in educational programs. Under the child care fee subsidy programs, what we're looking at there is programs that assist youth with children to offset the cost of subsidized childcare. And under our housing program, what we offer there is subsidized shelter costs for persons qualifying for subsidized housing. For the three programs, they are application-based. In most cases, they are needs-tested based. There has to be a set cutoff for the amount of income that they have and the amount of assets that they have. In most cases, when we're dealing with youth, the majority of those questions relate around zero in regards to income and assets. So it's an application process, and we will determine eligibility based off need in most cases.
As a multi-service agency, Dufferin Child and Family Services offers programs and services from infancy right through to old age. We provide a wide range of services to youth, and our mission overall at the agency is to be a partner, a resource, and a leader to support and build capacity and strengths of families in our community. So within our Children's Mental Health Service area, we offer lots of things for youth. Largely, of course, these are counseling programs, and they may involve working with a youth alone, or they may involve working with his family or her family. We have a talk-in clinic every Tuesday afternoon and evening, and that's our main gateway for service. So a youth can simply walk into the agency and see a clinician that day. And then, depending on the nature of the situation, they may be referred on to further counseling in our one of our other programs, or that may be enough for them that day, and they're certainly able to come back to the talk-in clinic at any time for counseling. The second main way that people access services, or youth would in this case, is through our crisis response, and someone's always available by telephone to respond to a crisis situation, and that may be dealt with over the phone, or the worker will go and meet the youth at the hospital or at the school, in his home, or at the office, whatever is most appropriate. We also have a mental health clinician who's got particular expertise in dealing with sexual assault. So when those issues arise and a person comes in for some support, we have that kind of specialized support for any age group, but certainly for youth. We also, from time to time, provide groups in schools, and those are usually with a particular focus. For example, we might do a program for young girls who are highly anxious, and that might be a 4 or 6 week kind of program, and it's often delivered in collaboration with school personnel. In terms of child protection, we are involved with youth in many ways. Obviously, we have our youth in care, and when they're in care, we are their corporate parent, and so we work with them, with their foster families, with the schools, just as any parent would in dealing with the issues teens face all the time. We're also very closely connected to the families that we're working with through child protection, but where the children and the youth are remaining in their home. And in that case, our workers may just support the youth in some of the issues within the family. They may refer them to more in-depth counseling service. They may work with them individually or again as part of that family unit. In our developmental support services, we work again with youth in many capacities. Typically in that case, these are young people with a developmental disability, and so we're typically working pretty closely with the families as well as with the child, and we're trying to help them to navigate the various systems that you have to navigate, whether it's the school, the healthcare system, social service system, and making sure that youth and that family get the resources that they need. We also, if a family is struggling, seriously struggling, we have workers that can go in and support the family in an even more in-depth way. We also have a teen social group in our developmental services program, which is being well attended by some of the older kids in that service. Because we are a multi-service agency, we are able, with the permission of our clients, to bring expertise from our various range of services together to talk about the best way that we can coordinate the services that people need and require and ensure that they're done in a way that is meeting the best needs of the youth at that time. Our goal, which really is to build on the strengths that we know are there with youth and their families, and to help them succeed in their lives.